Doctor Strange is the newest Marvel movie, being the 14th in Marvel's cinematic universe. When it comes to Marvel movies, I don't go to see if it will be good, I go in to see how good it is. As someone in my screening said, I don't know what this is about, but it's a Marvel movie, so it will probably be good. And naturally, he was right. Doctor Strange is great. Doctor Strange is hands down the most visually interesting movie Marvel has ever made, which is to be expected from the trailers in Strange's own comics. The movie is a mind-bender visually, like Inception if it was on acid. The movie introduces not only magic to the cinematic universe, but other dimensions and the multiverse. The visuals are the biggest attraction to Doctor Strange, but they're not the only good thing about the movie. The movie is an origin story for Strange, as after an accident renders his hands useless and never to perform surgery again, goes on to look for something that can heal his hands. Looking for any solution, he finally goes to Camartage, where he begins to learn the mystic arts, eventually taking down the villain Caecilius, who plans to give a world over to Dormammu, ruler of the Dark Dimension. Watching Strange learn magic is some of the more fun parts of the movie. However, the movie moves at a pretty brisk pace, which is nice, but it can also speed through the movie and not get to enjoy all it has to offer. That's the only criticism I can see to lift against the movie, though I do prefer a faster burn than a slower crawl. But if my only complaint is that I want more of this world, then that says a lot to the quality of the film. In comparison to the other Marvel movies, Strange is more of a wizard than a superhero, which makes this movie feel even more fantastical, or dare I say, magical, and that extends to the fight scenes. Most fights have them conjuring weapons like swords and using what they call relics to fuse magic into objects. The alternate dimensions and magic and mind-bending world shifting isn't just pretty to look at, but functions in a lot of the fight scenes. They're awesome and include such spectacles as fighting in New York as they morph buildings around them to look like one of those illusionist paintings, and an end fight scene where they literally fight as time goes in reverse, putting the street, buildings, and debris back together as they fight. Doctor Strange opens up more of this universe of the MCU. Just like how Guardians of the Galaxy introduced us to space and Thor to Asgard and the other realms, Strange introduces us to even more than beyond our world of space and time. Dimensions like the Mirror Dimension and the Dark Dimension, which is one of the most visually and trippy worlds introduced so far, is all pretty fascinating, which is why, as I mentioned earlier, I wish they would have dived more into them, as most are only shown briefly. Now, about the, let's say, white elephant in the room, I originally didn't know what to think of the whole whitewashing controversy surrounding the movie. I agree that it does kind of suck that they changed the Ancient One to white, but Tilda Swinton does a good job of portraying the Ancient One, and a lot of the cast is pretty diverse, so I personally wasn't that bothered by it. Chiwetel Ejiofor does a good job as a stern and strict Carl Mondo, Benedict Wong does good as the no-nonsense bookkeeper, and so on. I heard one reason they changed the Ancient One was to avoid conflict in China, others say to avoid stereotypes. On that front, changing Wong to a more prominent role as the keeper of the library and relics than as Doctor Strange's manservant was a good choice, for instance. Like I said, it didn't really bother me and the cast seemed to fit perfectly. But if you're more concerned with these changes and didn't like them, that's your business and I understand. Some of the real criticisms of Marvel movies that I find to be fair are the lack of time for villains and the music. Though Caecilius just seems to serve as the generic antagonist, I think he is one of the more understandable. He has certain logic to his goals and motivations that are at least explained and I understood him. Caecilius serves as a Sauron to Dormammu's Sauron, and the movie opens up for more villains that could come from anywhere, including other dimensions. The music was also more noticeable and is more than just temp music. The music actually adds to the movie instead of just filling in the background noise. Hopefully Marvel will continue to add more depth to the villains like in the shows and more standout music. Inevitably, people are still going to start wondering if the MCU could go on forever, despite the fact that they keep releasing good movies. Me, I'm just enjoying them as long as I can. I see no reason why they can't go on forever. I mean, how long has James Bond been going on? 50 years? How long has Star Wars and Star Trek been around? How many Godzilla movies are there? There's no reason to think that they will be stopped anytime soon. After all, it's a whole universe. If anything, with Doctor Strange opening up new dimensions in the multiverse, it could seemingly go on forever. Doctor Strange is a fun and trippy adventure. It will be interesting to see how it continues, considering that Doctor Strange usually appeared in other people's comics and not much of his own. Doctor Strange is one of the best Marvel movies and is easy to recommend. I give it 4.5 out of 5 stars. Go check it out.